We're at day 6. Greetings, everyone. I'm based on the Gold Coast, and we've had quite a lot of rain for the last few weeks. It seems like it's one of these never-ending things that keep coming, and I'm missing the sun. Definitely a fan of the sun. Topic for today. What we're going to be talking about is the nature of communication and what happens when we basically, there's two different sides to this spectrum. So with communication, there is people that speak incessantly and they will keep talking. They'll keep talking constantly. And the other side are the people who don't speak at all. And we're going to be going to this today and some of the dynamics of communication and the things that can actually impede conversations, impede your voice actually landing, things that will affect whether your message is received or not. And so, to begin with, I'm going to go into the challenges that I had personally growing up. Because you may relate, you may not relate, that's all cool. When I was a kid, let's start from when I was most aware of this. When I was at school, in primary school, I was quite loud. And I would make lots of noise. I had lots of friends and I was very active and all of these. Am I actually on? Yeah. And I used to play a lot of sport and I used to, be pretty open. And it was when I hit high school that I started being quiet. It was around the time that my parents split up and I started to pull back within myself. And it was then that I started being bullied at school. I remember the kids at school that I was friends with would run away from me and I would walk after them to try and find them. And this continued for quite a while, for about maybe a year or so. One of those things where I just accepted what was there, accepted that they were the friends that I had, and maybe it was just what life was going to be. And so I didn't really say anything about this. I was, as I said, fairly quiet, quite reserved. And then I would enter different groups. I would still be the same. I would be quiet. I would end up becoming a receiver of bullying. That was just the frequency that I was running on, that people felt that they wanted to bully me. And this led to me being very introverted and thinking a lot. I was thinking and I was observing people quite a lot. I took in a lot of information, but didn't say very much. And so, as I went through school, I started to get to this point where I would actually I'd want to say stuff and I want to speak to people, but I wouldn't really have any courage to do it. I felt really uncomfortable doing it and I felt that no one wanted to hear me at all. And so that made things worse. As that progressed, I started to make some friends. I was playing music at the time, found some friends that were into music. There was a drummer and a guitarist, a few other guitarists. There was actually about 5 guitarists in this group of people that I was in. So that was great. So we talked about music, found a common interest of music, and all of a sudden I wasn't being bullied as much. Come graduation, basically at the end of grade 12, I started to speak up more. This was around the time that I started drinking, started going out to parties, and naturally all the inhibitions go away and makes it easy to be loud, and you could not shut me up. So then came me being a chatterbox. And so me being a chatterbox, people would tune out. And it was like I went from this pendulum of not being listened to being loud and maybe partially being listened to. I was known for a certain particular energy. And then when I started playing music in front of people, that shifted me back into an introvert mode, which is interesting because when I would end up in front of people, I found myself switching off. I would disengage because there was a fear of being judged and all of those things that would come with it. Craving a lot of validation. And so for about 10 years or so, I performed music, I played guitar, and I sang very confidently, mind you. And as soon as the song would finish, I would shut down. And so looking at the spectrum of this and coming to now where I would often speak out quite loudly, I have more of a sense of discernment since I've been working on my communication. And this has allowed me to, one, stay quiet when it's actually relevant, and two, to be loud when it's relevant. Because before it was, I didn't know how to be one or the other. I would just be in a default mode. And now bringing a sense of awareness to it, I can choose when to be loud and choose when to be quiet. There's something that I see in a lot of people is there is a method of us switching off where we don't realize that the other person has not been listening. And it's a sense of dissociation because we can go and tell a story all day and it can be the best story in the world and no one will listen to us. Because unless we're actually sure that those people are receiving what we're putting out, then it's not going to be received. There's a sense of like energetic loop that's closed where we show compassion and we show that we're listening to the other people and that we care about how they're receiving us. And so this has led me down this path of really being curious about why certain people's voices are received and some are not. And when we simply go silent, it can communicate quite a lot of things. Silence can be, I don't want to talk right now. Silence can be, I have something to say and I know you're not going to listen. Silence could be, I have something to say and you'll probably attack me for it. I mean, the list goes on. There's many, many reasons to be silent. Maybe you're just feeling terrible and you don't feel like putting anything out. And then you have on the other side of the spectrum where talking is the default. So that's, if I'm around people, I talk. If I'm by myself, I talk in my head. And as soon as I have an audience, I speak. I tell them every story that I have. I tell them everything about myself. There's no mystery anymore. And it becomes overwhelming for anyone who's listening. Maybe some people can keep up, but not many people can. And the tendency within this frame is to assume that the other person who we want to listen to us either doesn't get us, either what we're saying is too smart or too complex for them to understand. We may think that this person doesn't actually deserve to understand what I'm saying. And one of the big kickers is, I don't want this person to understand me. And why would you not want someone to understand you? It's a big question, right? Because that's the program we've been running for a long time. And if you've been running that program for a very long time, that's what you feel safe doing. Because if someone actually understood you, if someone actually heard what you were saying and were able to really understand, then you would be seen, you would be received. And that invalidates everything that goes on in your mind. That invalidates your entire past. And so that is a terrifying concept for a lot of people. Truly feeling received, truly being seen. It can be shocking. Sometimes we're surprised by it. And you would have had this experience. You're saying a problem or something that you're experiencing to someone, and they're sitting there listening. They're actually taking on board information. They are asking questions that are relevant, that are intriguing, that open you up more. And they're not trying to impose anything upon you. They wait till you finish. There's no sense of combativeness to what's going on in the conversation, and it feels good. This is someone that knows how to close the loop. And I'd say those people are far and few between. So in realizing this, I sought out to become this person that I saw was missing, to fill the gap. And it's been quite a journey. I've had certain experiences where I've been sitting with people. This is an example of the receiving. If someone is going through a time, you may meet up with someone at some point in time and you may want to tell them something so badly. But you meet up with them and realize that that person that you're talking with, that you wanted to hear you, has all of their own stuff going on. And so you sit there trying to listen to them. You're waiting for them to finish so you can share with them your thing. And that creates this energetic force that's like a magnet when you turn the positive against the positive, and it goes. And so that doesn't fix itself until you flip the magnet and go, you know what? I can tell that you need this more than I do. You need to be heard. And so if you flip that, you go into listener mode and the other person keeps outputting. And you don't need to fix anything. This is the illusion that we have, is that if we're listening to someone, we need to give them solutions, or we need to fix their problem. That's the downsides of, the supposed downsides of listening. That's why a lot of people get over listening, because they drain themselves from the fixing process of trying to actually repair someone who's not broken. And so if someone goes into listening mode, it's their responsibility to be genuinely curious, to really sit themselves in that position and go, how can I understand this person to the best of my ability? And when this link is formed, it creates trust. It creates a deep trust, where that person feels comfortable actually expressing what's going on in their body, what's going on in their mind, the stories that they've got going on. Because they're not being fixed. They're used to people fixing them. That's pretty standard. And so if you can do that without fixing people, without offering help, then you become a very valuable person in this world. not everyone's willing to do this without imposing their own beliefs and opinions. And granted, if it's a conversation, a two-sided conversation, yeah, sure, throw opinions in there. They're all valuable. Yet if someone just needs to be heard, that's all they're going to need. And giving them the option to just be heard is one thing that you can do. And so this is where the communication side becomes more of an empathic thing. And this whole talk about empathy is what intuitives end up stumbling upon, and they go, I'm an empath. When in reality, as far as I'm aware, every single human being is an empath. And children are born as empaths. When they become conditioned by human beings, by their family, by their friends, by society, then they start to forget that they're empaths. And so later on in life, if we discover that we're empaths, we go, oh wow, I'm an empath. I can feel things. This is what happened to me. And I thought, oh, I can feel these things. This is weird. And realizing that it's actually our natural state. This is how we were originally meant to be. And so in discovering this is the deeper discovering of oneself, because it requires a letting go of the ego, and it requires a letting go of who we once were. And who we once were is all of the things that are up in our mind that we're convinced that we are. And it's not really who we are. It's more of what we are, or what we're convinced that we are. We become a product of these stories and experiences and traumas and past experiences that stack on top of each other, and they become what we say is us. And so the discovery of self, as it's been for myself, is quite a journey. The ability to actually communicate with people on a deeper level than simply words is unheard of for a lot of people. There's no class that's taught on this at school. We're not taught to actually communicate with people. We're not taught to listen with our hearts. We're not taught to speak from our hearts. Sure, these phrases get thrown around as we're growing up. We hear them in movies, on ads, on infomercials, Hallmark greeting cards, all of these things. And the part that gets missed is how to actually connect those dots. Speak from the heart, sing from the heart. Who actually tells you how to do it? I don't recall anyone breaking those things down and saying, this is how you speak from the heart. This is how you do this. It's just implied. Or even to follow your heart in like a soul mission, or follow your heart for guidance. Because your heart is the best guiding light that you have. Yet most people operate everything out of here. They come up with the ideas that they've got in here. They claim all the ideas they have from here, even though some of them may have come from the heart. There is a solidifying and a crustiness that comes from this territory. And the crust can be hard to break, depending on when you are entering this journey, depending when you're actually, discovering yourself. in which way you're discovering yourself, who you're around. Because if you're discovering yourself and you're surrounded by a bunch of people talking about mindset, well, you may be under the impression that mindset is the be-all end-all, that you master your mind, you master your life. You can be in a group of people that love breath work, and they go, breath work is the be-all end-all of life. All we have to do is return to the breath. And then you have someone that says jiu-jitsu is life, or yoga is life. And as long as we do these particular things, that our life is going to be sorted and it's going to be perfect. And so we follow these things and say, well, you know what? I'm going to dedicate my life to this. Mindset, 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 mindset. Mindset doesn't include the heart in most cases. Except when you look at the types of brains in the body, the types of intelligence in the body. Well, there's different types of brains. You have your head, mental brain. You've got your heart brain. You've got your gut brain, which links in with your nervous system. You've got your sexual center as a brain. And when we take this concept of 4 brains, all of a sudden things start looking a bit more colorful. It's no longer just mindset based. It's no longer just heart based. It's no longer just nervous system or gut based. It's no longer sexual based. It's a whole combination and a mural of all of them painted together. And so when you're operating into the world, if you don't have these things in balance, they are going to show up in other areas. For example, if you're all heart-based, often what heart-based people are lacking is a sense of, they may be very soft and gentle, they may be beautiful people, and yet they may lack grit, or they may lack a sturdy mind, a sturdy mindset. They may lack in their sexual vitality because they're soft in this way. And this isn't to say that softness is negative or a bad thing. It's to say that softness is an integral part of being strong. And so if one is strong in their essence, they can choose to be soft. But if their default is soft because they don't know how to be tough, they don't know how to have grit, that is not something that's going to end well. It's not going to take you many places in life. This is where the standard nice guy comes up. So the nice guy is often strong in his heart, well-intentioned, tries to stay open, mentally thinks to actually try to understand things. But often what this nice guy is lacking is, to use something more of a brash statement, he's lacking balls, and also lacking that grit. And so that nice guy is going to keep being walked over until he develops some grit and lets his balls come out. These are his terms we hear all the time, like grow some balls. Because the nice guy he doesn't have balls, he doesn't have a spine. And same thing with a nice girl, right? There's 2 sides to this. And the more that we can balance these things together, the more that life will sort of unravel itself for us. So this is what I like to break things down as, in the sense of archetypes. I originally created this archetype map, which has shifted now because I've now included the sexuality in here. I used the masculine archetypes, and I associated the soul with the king. Now, the soul being the king and awareness this was overlooking everything. Now, this is probably going to change just because I've been applying the 4 brains concept now. The idea that the soul actually enters in through the heart first, because if the heart is missed, if the heart is skipped, often the mind doesn't say, hey, let's see what the heart wants to do. Because once the mind is made up, it's like, I'm done. This is the plan. And so what I like to see it as is the heart going first, then the mind creating a strategy, the magician, and then bringing that into the gut, which is the warrior, and that is grit, and that is staying power, that is the ability to keep going. And then this is the other one that I had not really intended to add in here. It's the eros of which is your essence, which is actually your soul. So the king in this context could actually be your eros. I'm going to sit with that one before I solidify it. And when it's expressed, it runs through these channels. And everything that you do in your life is run through these different channels. And so when you go to express, it's like everything's compiled, and then the voice process starts, which starts at the base, which is your solid foundation. Then it goes to your sexual center, adds your eros, fires up through the solar plexus, through the heart, warms the heart, and then comes up to the throat. And what happens is the brain trickles in information. It tends to be a small portion of what is spoken in a truly embodied voice. The truly embodied voice doesn't actually rely on the mind for too much. It kind of peppers in the information, the right words, the right phrases, because what the brain also does, the mind, is it allows you to adapt tools and learn new tools. So it will source what tool is necessary and say, cool, we want a hammer for this. And so we bring up that voice and use it. And that's why it's a magician, right? It makes the right tool for the right occasion appear. Reminds me of Harry Potter when he needed help and Fawkes, this was in the Chamber of Secrets, and Fawkes the Phoenix flew out and brought the sorting hat out, dropped the sorting hat, and Harry pulls out the sword, the Gryffindor sword. And it was really cool because it actually highlights that the right tools will be available at the right time. And that is a thing of magic. It was sent by a great wizard. And so when you truly trust and you're in a circumstance where you need the tools aren't the first and foremost thing, because you need bravery first. That bravery and the courage and the ability to keep going in the face of adversity is going to prove invaluable. And so when you show up, these tools, the words, the spells, the right ones simply arrive. This is all the stories that you want to tell, the things that come up at the right time. These tools or weapons, they arrive right when we need them. They don't arrive before. They can arrive just as we need them. And this is in a space of trust, because if we really trust in having all of the tools, then this is the core of my practice that I'm doing right now, is sitting in front of this camera and going, well, I'm going to see what comes up, and trust that I will always have something to speak about. There will always be something to say to the camera. And the more that I do this practice, the more that I'm proving this to myself, that I actually don't need to script anything. Unless, of course, there's a particular topic that is being spoken about in depth. However, I do see my current skill set and focal point to be able to say what is most pertinent to the moment and have it be more relevant than anything. Because that's the cool part about it. Often we say the most profound, wise things when we're not thinking about them. Musicians, writers, poets, they write the most profound stuff when they're not thinking about what they're doing. They're just trusting the process. They go into channeling mode, and that's going to be the next space, because channeling has been something that I've been doing for a very long time and haven't realized that I've been doing it. So that will be day 7. The topic is going to be channeling. Have a fantastic evening, and I hope you've enjoyed my talk. There goes my timer. And yeah, until next time, peace out.